I'm happy to answer them. Let's keep it as relaxed as possible. I'm Gabby. I'm a clinical nutritionist, which just means that I studied at university and I work with food, but not just food, supplementation as well. Do all sorts of testing to see what you're deficient in, where your hormones are, a bunch of stuff. So we'll talk about that a little bit more during the talk. But yeah, so let's start. We'll go on from there. So I'm talking about hormones. It's a big thing for women. We all struggle along the way in some way or another with hormones, whether it's PMS, infertility, PCOS. Everyone's got an issue. It's becoming a lot more prominent, I think, for everyone. So generally people go to the doctor, they get a test, doctors will say, oh, everything's fine, or they'll hand you some birth control pills and say, here, take these and go on your way. Or hormone replacement therapy, depending on what you're going for. Sometimes they even say you've got to get a hysterectomy or take something out. And unfortunately, that's the way they do it. And these are not your only options. There are gentle methods, there are ways that you can deal with your hormones or control them in better ways to bring about some balance. So basically, I work in a very holistic way. So it's not just your hormones. I don't just look at your endocrine system like endocrinologists would. I don't just look at your liver like a hepatologist would. We try to look at everything from a really holistic perspective because you're not just the sum of your parts, you are one whole, and every part works in collaboration with all the rest of them to make you healthy or unhealthy or have the issues that you do. So your digestive system, your liver, they're all really important for your hormone balance, the food that you eat obviously, and unfortunately doctors just don't get that training. I'm not at all knocking the medical, I mean they're amazing and we live longer than we've ever lived before. But when we're looking at chronic illness and things like hormones, doctors just aren't trained to deal with that in a holistic way. So they'll send you to 5 different specialists. That makes sense. A lot of women come to me when they're feeling helpless, and you don't have to feel helpless. There are so many gentle ways that you can try and balance your hormones. It doesn't work 100% of the time. Sometimes there are issues that you will have to take medication for or hormone therapy for, but often you don't have to. And often we as women, we're told, oh no, everything's fine, your test came back fine, everything's going to be fine. And intuitively you just know that it's not fine, and you keep going to one doctor and another and you're saying, okay, well, I actually don't feel like something's fine, but every doctor sent me away or given me a box of pills to take, and that's pretty much it. And lab tests, often you do the tests and they come back as normal, and unfortunately, when you're looking at a reference range of the lab tests that the doctors do, it's a sick population that they're looking at. So they're not looking at a healthy population. They're doing those tests on sick people generally, or people that have come to them for a reason, if that makes sense. So the reference ranges are based on a sick population. The ranges are really broad. So they're not looking at preventative healthcare. When you go to the doctor, you get a pill, and that's pretty much it. They're not looking at trying to prevent a pathology from coming down the track, or something that's, kind of slow burning but not there yet. They're looking to provide sick care. So basically your symptoms should guide you, and that's how I work. I mean, I do a lot of testing as well, and most nutritionists do. There's a whole range of tests that we can offer. But usually we look at a clinical picture, we look at your symptoms, and from there, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well, we'll go from there to kind of guide you. So just a little bit about me and how I came to this. Always had digestive problems for as long as I can remember. I used to go to bed every night, I was like pregnant, constantly bloated. I thought that was the norm. A lot of people do. People come to me and they're like, do you have digestive issues? And they're like, no, I'm fine, everything's fine. Like, do you get bloated? Oh yeah, every day. Do you go to the toilet every day? Oh, maybe 2-3 times a week. These are not the norm. No one has to live like that. You should be.
Gabby, do you find, you were saying some people go to the doctors to try and get these tests, but I think also some people just go, I'm just not going to worry about it, I'll just let it go, and are too scared to go. I personally, I don't want to go to the doctors because I don't want to be put put on it and sort of...
You don't want to,
Yeah.
that's right.
So you just put up with it.
Yeah, well that's the thing, people just think it's kind of normal to feel that way, and it's not. You don't have to be bloated after every meal, that's not the norm. And you should be going to the bathroom every day, and it should be okay, and you shouldn't feel like you've got reflux or any of that. So anyway, I always had digestive problems. Literally every night I'd go to bed and say, oh my God, I was a young girl, felt pregnant all the time. So I went to uni and did business, wasn't a nutritionist, had horrible PMS. I was literally honestly like a dragon, like every month. My poor children, my husband, and I never really saw it until much later, but really, really bad. And really what brought me to this was overwhelming anxiety, just overwhelming, didn't know how to function, how am I going to get through this day? I literally lived like that for a long time, and then eventually came to nutrition. I did start taking antidepressants, didn't like how they made me feel, and said I wasn't going to go down that path, and tried to find another way, and that's what brought me to nutrition. I think it's really important to think nutrition's not just the food you eat. I mean, although the saying, if you think about it, you are what you eat, makes a lot of sense. Every fibre of your being, every nerve, every hormone, every neurotransmitter that sends nerves along your brain for everything that you do, they are all made up of the food that you eat and what you take in. So if you're not taking in the right things, they're not going to be made up properly. You're going to be lacking in certain things, and that's basically what happened. So I had this overwhelming anxiety, the PMS, and later on down the track realised I had adrenal fatigue and estrogen dominance, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And basically I was not a warrior, I don't know why it says he warrior, but it should say warrior, like W-O-R.
Like warrior.
Yeah, I didn't mean to write warrior with that. So yeah, so high cortisol levels, and we'll talk about that, heavy metals, and this is all like a big picture. And I came to nutrition, and basically I can honestly say I've been doing this for a while, and I had anxiety as a child, and I've never felt as healthy. Touch wood, I'm always scared to say it, as healthy and as vital, energetic as I do now, and I'll be 40 next year. So I have to say it's changed my life, and I'm so passionate about it because of that. I really believe that you can change your life, and it's not just like food. I do a lot of supplementation and just different lifestyle. I guess it's just all about a lifestyle and balance. But it is confusing because you hear so many different things, eat this, don't eat this, take this, don't take that, and I think we're all a little bit confused. Even I get confused sometimes because every day a new study comes out. I was just reading a study, saturated fats are back on the menu. I mean, I definitely believe in saturated fats, but for a long time we were told to eat everything low fat. So it does get a bit confusing. Okay, so anyone had any questions so far? All good? Hormones, what are they? So basically they're chemical messengers produced by your endocrine glands. So you've got your pituitary, your adrenal, your thyroid, your pancreas produces your insulin. In women, the ovaries produce estrogen, progesterone, and in men, you've got your testes, they produce testosterone. So they're released into your bloodstream, and then they go to your organs depending on where they have to go to help you function, to perform various functions. And your fat cells can also make hormones. So that's why a lot of people, when they're overweight, they make a lot of estrogen. And your fat cells could also make leptin. And leptin is your hunger hormone. So it's kind of like this vicious cycle. When you've got too many fat cells, you make more estrogen, which makes you want to eat more and put on more weight, which is often why we have weight loss resistance. It's very much hormonal. And we'll talk about that in a minute. So I chose estrogen and progesterone because we are all women, and I'll talk about them first. I will go through most of the other hormones as well, but just because most of us are probably estrogen dominant, a lot of women are these days, and I'll explain a little bit about that. And it always depends on your estrogen progesterone balance, so they have to be in balance. So you could have normal levels of estrogen, but if you don't have enough progesterone, then you're still estrogen dominant because that's your dominant hormone. So progesterone is a hormone produced in the ovaries. or the adrenal glands if necessary. And as the name tells you, it's pro-gestation. So it literally is there to help you maintain a pregnancy and get pregnant. It's also essential for everyone who's not trying to get pregnant because progesterone actually keeps you calm, alleviates anxiety, helps you fall asleep, balanced. Most people don't have, actually I've never heard of anyone having too much progesterone. So you can have, it's good for you. And that's what keeps us balanced. It's kind of like the lawnmower, you need estrogen, you need progesterone, and what the progesterone does is take the edge off the estrogen. So it keeps everything in balance. When you don't have enough progesterone, that's when things start going a bit haywire. So estrogen is probably the one hormone that you're most kind of aware of as women. It gives us our boobs, our bums, our periods, our hips, all those lovely things. It's made in the ovaries, and as I said before, it can be made in fat and your adrenal glands. And there are 3 different types of estrogen. So some are really good for us and we need, and then others are not so good and we need to metabolize it and get rid of it. That's where the problem lies. We don't do it always very well. So there's E1, which is, you get it in pregnant women, and it's also there to help maintain the pregnancy, and it helps you with your milk production and so on and so forth. And also menopausal women have more of this estrogen. And as we know, menopausal women, the estrogen levels go down when they go into menopause. And then there's E2, which is, that's the one you have excessive levels of. And that you get a lot of the time from things like skincare. You have to be really careful with the skincare that you use because it does have synthetic estrogen and can cause estrogen dominance. Any fragrances that you put on, and it's, I'll just mention this, I haven't put in much talk, but a lot of the time we put our fragrances here on our neck, and this is where our thyroid is. And fragrances have been known to affect the way our thyroid works. So I actually don't wear perfume anymore. I think it's really important.
I'm just
and your thyroid is your master gland.
So we do that every day, sometimes twice a day.
Yeah.
So where should you put it?
I just put on my clothes and then I
Yeah.
put my clothes on.
Or your hair.
Or your hair. Your thyroid is your master hormone. So if your thyroid doesn't work, none of your hormones are going to work properly.
How do you know?
Well, we'll talk about that. I'll give you a whole... So, I don't know if anyone... I didn't think of bringing paper, but I'll give you a list to tick off. We'll go through each hormone and we'll actually go through a list and you can see what your problem areas are. Skincare, perfumes, house cleaning products, plastics, all of those lovely things have what we call xenoestrogens. And they
just skincare, can you see on the ingredients?
So if you get natural, paraben-free, sodium sulfate-free, you will see organic skincare, that's fine, generally.
So
but
anything else has probably got it in.
So there are websites that you can go on. There's a lot of, I get a lot of skincare natural. Look, I use makeup as well. I don't use everything natural, but just be aware of it, Wash it off before you go to bed. Don't wear, I think fragrance is probably one of the worst things you can do, especially putting it around here.
If you wouldn't eat it, don't put it.
That's it. If you wouldn't eat it. There's got like a plastic on it That's right. But you know what? Whatever they will say, take it and everyone still does it. What are you going to do? Basically, your skin is your biggest organ. Your skin is actually an organ and you absorb everything through your skin. So whatever you're putting on your skin, it's like you would be eating it. If you wouldn't eat it, then you don't put it on your skin. Actually, most of the time, if we've got people with digestive problems, we do a transdermal cream for them to absorb whatever we need them to absorb. So your skin is very, very absorbed. It absorbs everything.
So deodorants would be really bad.
I have to say I don't use it.
But sunscreen.
Sunscreen. You can get all of it natural, and it makes a big difference because you are absorbing a lot of the rubbish that they put into it. Yeah, and it makes a big difference.
So plastic cups and things like that, we just...
Yeah, it depends. You know, if you're not drinking, the water's there, you have a quick drink, it's fine, it hasn't had time to absorb a lot.
But plastic bottles, that's...
Look, I still drink. You're going to live your life.
Yeah.
As long as you're aware.
Just don't have it all the time.
Yeah, as long as you're aware and you minimise it where you can, and then sometimes you won't be able to. That's, you know, it is what it is.
What about that BPA-free ones that they have?
Look, and that's what I was saying before. We don't know. In 10 years, it might be the new BPA. You know?
Right.
Unfortunately, everything that's happening is so unprecedented. Everything's moving so fast. We just don't know where we're going to be.
Non-stick pans, and now they say don't use the non-stick pans.
Yeah, what's wrong with the good cast iron
Use your
pan?
intuition and think.
That's it. The closer everything is to nature, then you really can't go wrong. That's it. Yeah.
So sorry, what deodorant do you use?
You know what? I've got a few that I use. Some are better than others. Some just don't work. I have to be honest. At the moment, I have to actually have a look. I don't remember what it's called. It's a black and white, and it actually does work. And I go to the gym every day and use it, and it's fine. Not every day, but I go to the gym every day. But I use it every day, and it seems to work. But I just don't remember the name of it. It's a black and white bottle. I bought it in About Life.
Oh,
I don't know if you've done About Life.
Yeah, just said I've got to go to About Life.
Yeah. So, okay.
You can obviously obsess over all this stuff.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You've got to live your life and just do what you can. And I'm a nutritionist. I still wear normal makeup. So I still have my Chanel lipstick and do all that. I don't wear fragrance because I think that's a big one. I use two, like, you know, creams for my face because I'm putting them on every night. I'll use organic creams for my face, but I'm not obsessive about it. And I don't think anyone should be, because you're walking in the street, there's petrol, you're not going to escape it.
It's like anything like I say always have with my son now.
Yeah, with that I agree. Absolutely. Yeah, and what we'll talk about later is building up your liver so you can detoxify better as well. And that's where, you know, you're not going to escape all the toxins, but if you've got a really good digestive system and if your liver was working really well, then you'll be able to get rid of it and it won't affect you. So, okay, so the next one is the E3, estrogen, and that's the good one, the protective one. Helps keep youthful, and useful too. Yeah, that's my next one that I won't mention. And it keeps you lubricated, prevents hot flashes, and that's the one that you lose mostly when you're going through menopause. And it's anti-carcinogenic, whereas E2 is the carcinogenic one.
So obviously you've got all three, and there needs to be.
You need more of the E3. You need more of the estrol 3. You need to make sure that's your main estrogen. And there are tests that you can do.
So how do you test this type of thing? Is it a blood test?
It's a urine test,
okay.
And there's a big test that you do. Blood tests actually aren't that great with hormones.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
Gabby, you going to touch on what foods might have?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
What foods will help you with estrogen dominance and all that? Yeah, absolutely. Great. Talk about that.
Sorry, before you go, are you okay with photograph this?
Yeah, do whatever you want to do.
In lieu of taking
My mum she's on immunotherapy.
Oh yeah.
We're just drying her out now, everything. Is that because it would be
Taking her away the estrogen. What has she got a breast? Is it breast cancer? What has she got?
metastatic melanoma?
Right. I'm not sure. Because if it was a hormone cancer, yes, that's what they do. They give you an estrogen blocker. So that will do all those things, but I'm not sure.
She's constantly having to sip water
Yeah.
and use
It's like a side effect of
film pressure and things like that.
Yeah. It's just dry her.
Yeah. But it seems like it would be just do that one.
It could be, but it could be other things. They could be taking away some fatty acids that she needs. It could be a few different things. Yeah. Or maybe just dehydrating her.
Yeah.
Like body.
Yeah.
So when your estrogen's high, these are, if you want to write them down or if you want to take a photo, I don't mind, just for you to know. So difficulty losing weight, bloating or fluid retention. Basically all the things you get when you get PMS, but more permanent. Oh, PMS is a sign of estrogen dominance anyway. So generally if you've taken hormonal birth control, you're probably estrogen dominant, because that's what hormonal birth control is. It's just pumping you full of hormones. Breast tenderness or enlarged breasts, very heavy periods, fibroids, which can also bleed, endometriosis, painful periods, PMS and mood swings, frequent headaches or migraines, particularly premenstrually. If you've got 5, I would actually even say 3 or more, then you're probably an estrogen dominant. You can usually see a woman when she's estrogen dominant, she's quite hip bottom, she's quite bottom heavy, but it's not always the case.
And these are always, or so if you have sort of 5 in when you're about to get your period or while you've got your period, then that's different?
No, because you shouldn't have PMS. I mean, we all think that we should be suffering with PMS. Absolutely not. I used to be like a dragon, and some months, I don't even know that. Like, I would get my periods and not even be thinking that I'm getting this. Right. Like, I used to have horrible PMS. So no, if you've got any of these even before your periods, then you're estrogen dominant. Just. And you can still be going through perimenopause and be estrogen dominant. You can still have low estrogen and be estrogen dominant because it's all about the ratio of estrogen to progesterone. So I think we need to remember that. You can still be going through perimenopause. I know like menopause, you lose your estrogen, but while you're going through the perimenopause stage, it can last for up to 10 years before you actually stop your periods, which is menopause. You could still be low on estrogen and estrogen dominant. So low estrogen, some women do have.
What if you're a bit of both?
Yeah, well, a lot of women. Because like I said, you can have low estrogen. That's it. Well, then your estrogen low, but your progesterone is also low. So that's what it is. So you can still have estrogen dominance. So you can see those fatigue, memory loss, mood swings, hair loss, muscle loss, saggy skin, low or no libido, adrenal dryness, infertility, and hot flashes. They're your low estrogen. Yeah, you can work on it. I mean, it's not curable as such, although I guess it can be curable. I just think it's a cure, but it's certainly treatable. And look, it depends on the situation, but sometimes it's absolutely, you don't have it anymore. It just depends on where you are in your life and what's going on.
It's crazy how much has changed though when you're pregnant. Like you could be 1 and then you become pregnant and you
Such a whole bunch of new hormones, you're full of progesterone.
And then your next pregnancy can be
and it just depends on your health and what you're going through. So estrogen dominance can stem from low progesterone. They work in unison to keep each other in check. But high estrogen, apart from the things that we spoke about, can be drinking too much alcohol. Alcohol increases our estrogen levels. I'm definitely a proponent of eating red meat, so I don't want you to think I'm a vegan or anything like that. Absolutely not. But conventional red meat can increase estrogen levels because it's got hormones in it. And our meat that we buy conventionally is full of hormones. Whether we like it or not, that's the case. The food that it eats is grain, and cows shouldn't be eating grain. And they get sick from it, and they're pumped full of antibiotics and all sorts of stuff like that. So if you're going to buy one thing organic, I would say buy your red meat organic. If you can, that's one thing. Sorry? At least grass-fed, absolutely. Yeah. We've got absolutely.
You know, I heard something interesting about grass-fed.
Tell me.
I went to a meeting in January, and they were talking about grass-fed cows. When they're put on the trucks to go to their next stop, they feed them grains. So they're grass-fed for most of their life.
Maybe for one day.
So if you're really into it,
but how far do you want to take it?
that's exactly right.
Look, you can also probably get grass-fed from small farms, maybe. I don't know. Yeah.
They ran out of water months ago. They're trying to get in. Even get it in there. And then the hand feeding, my cousins are in the moment, just feeding and shooting the chickens. really to grass feed, the ones that they are going to be advertised. These are just
So too much copper, so cooking with copper pans and copper. Sometimes we have copper, the water. Thank you. I'm estrogen dominant. I lose my memory. So copper pipes can actually leach copper into your water, and too much copper in your body. We can easily test for copper. That too much copper in your body can increase your estrogen levels too, and other things. Copper's not a good thing. You want to have too much of it. Does increase anxiety as well. Being overweight, so estrogen is made in fat cells, so the bigger you are, the more estrogen you're making. Like I said, it's a bit of a vicious cycle. And self-care items, which we've spoken about, they all contain things, estrogens, and a lot of plastics too. So, yeah, that's why a lot of us are estrogen dominant these days. So, why and how? Estrogen is your dominant hormone when you are going through your first 2 weeks of the cycle, and it's balanced by progesterone in the last 2 weeks. And that's what happens with PMS. There's not enough of that progesterone to balance out the estrogen, and that's why you get PMS. Sometimes some women do actually get it for the last 2 weeks before they're getting their periods. Not like a couple of days, but they'll find that for 2 weeks out of the month they're like really getting PMS. So anyway, when you enter perimenopause, which like I said can start at around 35 to 38, some women are in perimenopause for up to 10 years. The average age for menopause is 51, but that means you haven't had your periods for a year. That's when you're officially in menopause. So perimenopause can actually last for a long time.
So what age is it? So you're saying at 51 most people go into menopause?
They're in menopause, which means they haven't had their periods for a year. So most people, their last period is about 50. That's the average. And then 51 is they're in menopause. So as I said, perimenopause can start much earlier. So, maybe 40. And you start to get your periods, but you're not ovulating, and, your estrogens. That's why I thought it was really important, because we're all at that kind of perimenopause, not all of us, but most of us are at that perimenopause stage. And, we think, oh no, it couldn't be an estrogen issue because my estrogen's dropping now because I'm going into menopause or will be soon, but it doesn't actually work like that. It's because you don't have enough progesterone. So even if you're close to menopause, you could still be estrogen dominant, I think. And that could be causing a lot of the symptoms. Other causes are, like I've said, excess body fat. Stress is also an important one. Stress increases our cortisol levels, and we'll talk about cortisol, which is another hormone in a minute, and increases our adrenaline levels, and that actually steals progesterone because your body makes it from the same master hormone. So if you're too stressed, your body can't make progesterone. It makes cortisol and adrenaline instead. Low fibre diet, so a lot of us don't eat enough fruits, vegetables, and fibre. White Wonder bread is not fibre. Fibre takes out the estrogen, it binds it up, gets rid of it. And like I said, environmental things and poor immune function. So that's what I mentioned before. I kind of feel like I'm repeating myself. But while estrogen levels will decrease during menopause, estrogen levels don't really fall till after the last period. So more women suffer the effects of estrogen dominance during the transition period, which is your perimenopause, because of a drop of progesterone. So how to lower estrogen? A healthy diet, you need lots of vegetables. Like I said, fibre is your best friend. Lots of fibrous veggies and a small amount of fruit. You don't want to eat more than 1 to 2 pieces of fruit a day. Fruit is still sugar, as much as you want to think it's really natural. We never ever had fruit at our beck and call 24 hours a day, until the last 100 years when we were having fruit coming in from all over the world and farming. You'd have 1 piece of fruit, and then that was in summer, and then in winter you didn't really eat a lot of fruit at all, and that's the way we're made. So you actually do put on weight from eating too much fruit, as natural as it is. But fruit is still fantastic. I don't want you to go away thinking I'm not going to eat fruit. 1 to 2 pieces max a day. A massive fruit salad for breakfast is not a good way to start the day. So lots of vegetables. You can't have enough veggies, unless it's potatoes. You can have enough potatoes. But any other vegetables, really good, especially fibrous veggies. So lots of green veggies, lots of broccoli, cauliflower, which we'll talk about in a minute. Eggs and wild fish should make up most of your protein needs, and you do need protein with every meal. We'll talk about that in a minute. Lots of healthy fats. So our hormones are made from fat. Cholesterol makes up your hormones. Without fat and cholesterol, you don't have hormones. And that's why a lot of people, low estrogen is found in women who have eating disorders and things like that. Their body just can't make the hormones anymore. So it's really important that you're not scared of fats. Fats do not make you fat. Fats make you healthy, vital, young, give you estrogen so your skin is plump, but the good estrogen, not the bad estrogen. Extra fibre, like I said before, fruit, vegetables. Chia seeds are fantastic for fibre. Make yourself a chia pudding. Put it in the fridge, have it in the morning for breakfast. Legumes, which are beans and legumes are great, but some of us have to do it really slowly because legumes can leave you bloated. And it's also really important to prepare them properly. I know a lot of you probably will take them out of a can, and I do that as well. But that's what, they're quite hard to digest. So when you actually soak them overnight, your legumes and beans, you're actually starting the digestive process. So it makes it easier for you to digest, and then you don't get that famous bloating and the rest from the beans and the legumes. Brassicas, so these are like broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, kale, rocket is a brassica. All those veggies are super full of fibre, but they also contain sulforaphane, which is a detoxifier, and it basically helps your liver get rid of the estrogen. So I would include these, preferably cooked, every single day in your diet if you can. They're amazing for liver health. They're amazing for helping you get your hormones under control and balanced. Now, soy is a bit of a confusing one, and we're still learning about it, but I always look at, in Japan, they don't even know what menopause is. They actually don't have menopause in Japan. They eat a lot of soy, but they don't eat the soy that we eat. They don't drink soy milk, and they don't eat soy protein isolate. They don't eat that type of soy. They eat fermented soy, and they eat a small amount every day. They don't eat, when we're drinking soy milk and we're eating a lot of the foods that you eat that are processed, they're all bulked up with soy protein isolate or some form of soy that's very, very refined. That's horrible for you, and that's not a good type of soy. But some soy is good. Definitely fermented soy is good. I wouldn't have any other type of soy. So miso soup is fantastic. Tempeh is fantastic. Make sure it's not genetically modified, and don't have it all the time.
What about dairy?
Okay. I do want to talk about that because it's quite controversial. I'm not a big lover of dairy, particularly the way dairy is raised at this time, full of hormones. The cows are not fed the right foods. I do have to say I still eat yogurt and cheese. I don't drink milk, and I generally ask my clients to stop drinking milk. There is nothing. Milk is very high in sugar. It's not going to help you lose weight. It's not going to help you with your hormones. Yeah, see, I don't find it. I find it so any milk. So low fat is probably the worst thing you can do. They bulk up the fat. Instead of putting fat in it, they put sugar in it. And you know what? It's not natural. You're not supposed to eat your food with the fat taken out. We've never eaten like that. Did our grandparents eat like that? Did our great-grandparents? And they lived, they didn't have the rates of heart attacks that we do. They didn't have anything. They didn't have estrogen dominance. My grandmother didn't have it, I'm sure. My great-grandmother didn't have it. So I think the closer to nature you eat, the better. Unfortunately, a lot of the foods we can't get the milk from the milk man,
In those days, that's not. I grew up on a farm, and the milk that we drink in the carton is not milk.
That's right.
It's
homogenised, pasteurised. God knows what else.
Milk the cows, and it's different.
That's right. So that's why I'm saying.
And the full fat milk, your milk naturally separated.
That's right. Fat will come to the top. Yeah. So we don't get that. So that's why I'm not a big. I don't believe in drinking milk.
It's not good for you or the cows.
No, that's right.
We're the only animal per se that will go back and drink milk and someone else's milk after you've been weaned.
That's right.
Now, even when you say that out loud, it sounds a bit
Sounds
wrong,
weird, this
doesn't it?
horrible opaque liquid that
Yeah.
belongs to a cow.
Yeah.
But cheese is really good because
So
we
is mine.
still eat cheese.
It's completely different.
Absolutely. So what I'm saying is, you don't need your 5. So studies now show countries that drink a lot of milk have more osteoporosis, more bone fractures than countries that don't. So all these studies are pointing to that. Like I said, maybe it's not even the soy in those Asian countries that's stopping people from having menopause. Maybe it's because they don't have a lot of dairy. We don't know. There's no actual studies that can verify that. So studies don't show causation. They just show correlation, if that makes sense.
Yeah. But the interesting thing is they're not overweight either.
Yeah.
And then when you see an Asian family live in Australia and eat like
And it's happening over there now too.
They put on weight.
Yeah, because our standard diet is horrible.
So their bodies must just go into
That's
shock.
right. And you know what? You also have to look at your background when you're eating. You know, some people do really well with white rice, like Asians. They don't get big, and they eat a lot of white rice, which is very, very high refined. Like it's a very high GI food that I would never recommend any of my clients eat. But somehow it works for them. If I were to eat white rice at that rate, I would probably really blow up, and it would be very unhealthy for me. So you have to look at that as well.
What about the blood type? So I never knew what my blood type was, and then when I was pregnant, he said, "No, you're like A negative. It's a rare blood type." And we just worked out that blood type I didn't like red meat, and I didn't, and I
Mostly
just
vegetarian
naturally
type
followed
diet.
the blood type that I was without knowing.
With A's, I find that very common with the A type, but when we look at studies, and that's why I don't really follow it, and I'm a B, and nothing that was for B was everything that I absolutely adore to eat was on the no E. Used on the B.
Oh, really?
So I just threw that away.
Right.
There are no studies that verify that. But I have heard from a lot of A's, and that's the vegetarian type meal, that's what they like to eat anyway. So there might be some truth to it. I don't know. It's not something that
It's a small percentage of the population. Maybe that's what it is.
I converted to that, and I had an adrenaline fatigue and had severe salmonella. I had all sorts of issues. I thought you were actually saying my digestive bio when you were saying yours. And I naturally have done the same. And I can tell you, if I eat to my blood type, so I'm a pescatarian that eats to my blood type, and
What blood type are you?
A, can't put on weight, have heaps of energy, my vitality's through the roof, my drive's through the roof, you name it, all these things. And I naturally, like that, fell into that. So for me, I absolutely swear by it. But it took me a few years to food map to work that out, and it just, it kind of fits.
Look, it does. Some people say it works for them, but I think it's because if you look at the actual diet, everyone's taking gluten out. Most people are taking dairy out on their blood type diet, and they're taking most refined foods out. If every one of us did that, we would all feel a lot better.
It's a good diet. It's a healthy
That's
diet.
right.
It suits my taste buds. I get excited over a salad.
Yeah, so that's perfect. But whether I think that the actual blood type itself has any validity, I don't know. Studies have not shown it. They've done a lot of studies on it, and so far it hasn't. But I'm sure there is some validity. It's just becoming new studies.
There's an app you can download.
Yeah, there's
your blood type.
Yeah. I've read the book. I've definitely read the book, and then there's
I just haven't dared
further
because I know
books
it's
down
going to
the
cancel
line.
everything I love.
I'm
I'm O negative.
I can show you. I've got the app on my phone.
Oh,
So
yeah.
let me show you what you can and can't do.
No, it's in moderation. I was reading it before, and I go to bed, even when I'm not pregnant, I go to bed with the worst bloating, painful, but I love milk, ice cream,
And that's it.
mashed potato.
You know, you can do hypnotherapy and different stuff around that. Those things. Hypnotherapy, some of that stuff.
Get rid of the
Therapy.
You can do
certain things.
hypnotherapy.
Oh, right.
And all those things.
On the milk front, I drink almond milk, but in my tea, like almond milk, it just doesn't get. So what's better, rice milk, oat milk? What's the alternative that most people do?
If it's just a small amount, either one is fine. If it's just a small amount, normal milk is fine. If you're just having
It's
a
just
little
the
bit of
only
tea
milk I've ever had.
and you enjoy it, go for it. I'm not dogmatic, like I don't believe in that. Doesn't work.
So the only reason is it's curdling.
No, if you like it and you're having a tiny bit, I mean, we're not, this is not going to make, unless you've got a real intolerance, it's not going to make it.
So what's the better out of rice milk and oat milk?
I think oat milk's better.
Oat milk.
Yeah, rice milk they have tested rice milk for arsenic, so rice does have a bit of arsenic in it.
Great.
Yeah, look, you can go crazy with that, but oat milk probably.
I'll just give it to the people I don't like.
Very slow poison.
Yeah, you'd have to drink a lot. And oats are generally quite healthy, so
Okay, thank you.
depending on what you do. Yeah.
There's absolutely no nutritional value with coffee.
No, it's a replacement of milk. There's no nutrition. And you have to be careful with almond milk as well. Some of them are full of like a lot of crap.
Yes.
And some you get only 3 ingredients.
There's one that's actually really bad for you. It starts to see. I know it when I see it, but Pure Harvest has
Pure Harvest, and then there's another brand that has like almond water and
there's like 2 the rest I would buy.
So just be careful with that because you're replacing one bit of crap with another.
Yeah.
So menopause, it is totally natural, sorry to say, but it's not something we need to fix, and I think we need to get out of that mindset as well. Every woman will go through menopause. Obviously you want to make it as easy as possible, but it's not something to fix. I know a lot of women, find, the conclusion of your fertility, but you can still be healthy, vital, sexy, whatever you want if you look after yourself and do it properly. I think that's really important to remember that. You can have some, you're going to get mood swings, some of us are going to get hot flashes, problems with sleeping, other symptoms, but it's not an illness and it's normal for your hormones to drop. There are ways to transition easier, and I think if you kind of follow what I'll be talking about later, I think that will make the transition a lot easier. Like I said, in Japan, I think they did a study, what did it say? Only 12% of women experienced hot flashes in Japan. And even then, they didn't find it like a big thing. It was not something they wanted to treat. It was just a byproduct of what they were going through and it was going to finish. Whereas in Australia, 85% of women experience hot flashes. So that tells you it's not 100% normal to feel like that, but there are ways, I guess, to kind of counteract. So how to transition easier. Essential minerals. So minerals are things like magnesium, calcium, potassium. We need those. They're very important. You can supplement with them. You can have salt, different. So minerals are really good. You can buy sea salt, not your table salt. That's all like coloured and bleached. Sea salt is really good. So don't get table salt. Sea salt's full of healthy minerals. It's very good for you. And healthy fats. I think they're the 2 most important things that you can get when you're going through menopause. And like I said before, you need plenty of fats. Your body needs fat to make hormones. Plenty of vegetables, small amount of fruit, which we spoke about. As you will see, and I'll be repeating myself a lot, most of the stuff is across the board. There are certain things you can take for different kind of hormonal deficiencies, but generally, it's across the board. If you've got a healthy gut and you've got a healthy liver and they're both doing their job really, really well, you're not going to have problems with your hormones. So, like I said before, cruciferous vegetables, fermented soy, which is high in estrogens. When you go through menopause, you can probably have a bit more soy than when you're not going through menopause because you've still got your own estrogen. Omega-3 fats are very important for menopause. They help with your heart. Menopausal women taking omega-3s had a lot less strokes, heart attacks, their skin health was better, their moods were better, so they're really important during menopause. I think I put fats in twice, that's how important they are. I didn't mean to. Exercise is really important. Moderate exercise, I don't want anyone doing anything so extreme exercise is really bad. It raises cortisol levels, which like we spoke about, takes away your progesterone, because your cortisol and your progesterone compete. So moderate exercise, and I'm talking moderate as in a half an hour walk. That's more than enough if you can do it every day. It has to be often. Doing an hour of intense exercise once a week is not what you want to do. You want to do half an hour every day of something that you're going to be able to do every day. Sleep. I know it sounds really cliche, but sleep is probably one of the most important things you can do. for anything, you need 7 hours. Actually, they did a study and women need more sleep than men. They just came out and I read it. So we need at least 7 hours sleep. If you can get 8, great. I know it's hard if you've got kids and you're working and doing everything. Sometimes it's impossible to get 8 hours, but you really need to prioritise that. Evening primrose oil can help. You need a high dose, and I wouldn't recommend taking a high dose without seeing a practitioner, but it can help. A lot of women take a small dose and say, oh, it's not doing anything. It takes a couple of months for it to actually do anything. You have to build it up, and you need a higher dose. So a lot of the times the dosage on the bottle is just the legal, not the legal dose, but the dose that they're allowed to print. As practitioners, we're allowed to work with a therapeutic dose, which is much higher than the dose on the bottle. But like I said, you must do that with a practitioner. And basically getting rid of processed foods and sugar. We'll talk a bit about sugar later, but sugar's a killer. One of the worst things you can do for your hormones and your health is to eat sugar. Sorry? No more Tim Tams. So I'm going to just go through the other one, some of the other hormones, but there'll be lots more talking. I'm not finished yet, I promise, but if anyone has any questions on estrogen, progesterone, menopause, or anything like that.
Just one question in my search through trying to find something. Turmeric.
Yeah.
I keep seeing.
Yeah, turmeric is fantastic.
Okay.
Unfortunately, what you put in your curry is not going to really do much.
So there's
You need it, and look, cook with it. It's great, as much as you can get. But for therapeutic reasons, if you need for arthritis, mental health, hormone health, liver health, you need to have a lot of turmeric, and it needs to be a specific. So it's not the turmeric itself; it's a thing called curcumin, which is in the turmeric, and they extract it, and that's what you take. And there's different types of extraction, so depending on what you need, whether you need it to cross into your brain for moods, or whether it's more for liver health or for joint health and things like that.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, turmeric lattes, yeah. And they make them really delicious.
They're delicious. They're not, I mean, look, it's great.
Well, I've never heard it. Now it's
But you know what, that's what happens. Everyone jumps on the bandwagon. Next week it'll be something else.
It was kale.
Yeah. And look, turmeric is fantastic, don't get me wrong, but there are ingredients that a lot of people aren't. And you can have too much kale. It's got a lot of oxalate in it, so oxalate you can have definitely too much kale. And what happens when people are putting kale in their smoothies every single day?
That was
they're getting sick.
Speaking of someone that's got thyroid disease, I went through like a whole week of just kale smoothies, kale salads, kale with fish. It's like I basically my thyroid just went up for
So because
too much fish as well. That's
well, depends on the fish.
Really,
it's high mercury.
What fish should I?
The smaller the fish, the better. The bigger the fish, the more mercury there.
So tuna's fine.
Tuna's high.
Quite high.
Tuna's quite high because they're quite big. So really little fish like sardines, whiting, little lemon sole, like anything that's small.
Would you classify like onions, like the sea fishes?
Snapper, no.
Sachets from the fish shop, because you can get them when you're pregnant, and there's a little card you can get, and it'll tell you the levels of it. Because there's ones you shouldn't have a lot of, but say a high amount of it when you're pregnant, and there's fish
You need to be more
when you're
careful when
pregnant.
you're pregnant.
So if you ask them and just say,
The best detox a woman can have is getting pregnant and having a baby. Which is why it's really important to be healthy before you You've all probably had your baby. But it's very important to be healthy before you're pregnant because you do maca, that's an interesting one. I was talking to someone about it today. It works for some people, it doesn't work. It's quite helpful. Maca. So it's a Peruvian root. It can be amazing for hormonal health for men and women, and other women break out, get really moody, depressed. It just depends on what's going on. Okay,
let's keep rolling because we will open up for some questions at the end, and I know you've got a bit to get through.
So insulin controls if food makes you fat, basically. Current science suggests that a calorie of carbohydrates, like we used to do calorie to calorie, no, a calorie of carbohydrate is more fattening than a calorie of protein or fat, even though, because of the effect of carbohydrates have on your insulin levels. So a calorie is not a calorie. sorry to say. Too many of the wrong carbs, we now know, causes insulin resistance. And insulin resistance is basically when your body doesn't have, its receptors aren't working anymore, basically not feeling the sugar, you need more and more insulin to get the sugar into glucose to give you energy. The more insulin you have, the fatter you are. And then there's a flow-on effect, and you'll see everything has a flow-on effect in our bodies. It's not just isolated to that.
How can you find this out though?
You do blood tests, yeah. So there's various blood tests you can do. And it's also a clinical picture. People who have high insulin generally have fat around their stomach. We'll talk about it in a minute. So insulin's another hormone. It comes out of your pancreas. And it tells you, it basically gets energy out of the food, turns it into glucose, which is one of our preferred forms of energy. So are you insulin resistant? And that means your body's basically producing more and more insulin to do that. Do you crave sweets? Especially after dinner, like you've had this massive meal and you don't feel like it's complete until you've had something sweet. Yeah. That's possible insulin resistance. It doesn't mean that it is. Are you addicted to carbs? High blood sugar, so that's the blood test that we look at. You check your blood sugars. Get hyperglycemic or shaky when you don't have food for a little while. Waist measurement, so that's this area over 90 centimetres. PCOS, if anyone has that, so you get if anyone has PCOS, they know what they have, that they have it, but it's irregular periods, acne, increased facial hair growth, infertility, and obviously the ovarian cyst. So that's polycystic ovarian syndrome, PCOS. Difficulty losing weight, insulin resistance. Low HDL cholesterol. High blood pressure can mean you're insulin resistant, and a fasting insulin level, which is again another blood test, if you know your levels, of 5 mil or over. So that's how you know if you're insulin resistant. And basically, let's do this. Insulin gatekeeper hormone, high insulin, and that's what we're talking about. The flow-on effect can lead to estrogen dominance. It can also raise your testosterone levels, which as women, we don't want. We need some testosterone, but we don't want them too high. Insulin also works with leptin and can get that out of whack, which is leptin's your hormone that helps you feel full. So when your body releases leptin, that's when you feel full and you'll stop eating. If you have leptin resistance, your body takes longer to release that leptin and you'll never full. You just keep eating. So how to get over insulin resistance? Low glycemic foods. Yes, low carbohydrate diet. That's pretty much how they do it. And that's how it was 50 years ago before people started injecting themselves with insulin. The only way doctors could help people who had types of diabetes or insulin resistance was to tell them to cut out carbs. So you don't have to cut them out, but they are not essential. We need fats. We cannot survive without them. We need proteins for our amino acids. We cannot survive without them. We can easily survive without carbohydrates. No one needs to eat them. So basically, if you work at about 30 to 50 gram net carbs per day, and there's apps you can get for telling you how much a net carb is. 30 to 50 grams, you can still get up in the morning, you can have your eggs, you can have heaps of veggies with your eggs, a piece of bacon even. Have one piece of fruit a day, have a salad with heaps of veggies and some protein for lunch, and a casserole maybe with half a sweet potato, which is like pretty good meals. That's 30 to 50 grams net carbs. Small piece of sweet potato, not like a whole piece of sweet potato. Not a whole sweet potato. That's 30 to 50 grams of net carbs. So it's very doable, and if you have insulin resistance or weight loss resistance, basically that's what you need to do.
So no bread.
Definitely no bread. There is something called there is a protein bread now. It doesn't taste like real bread, but you toast it and it tastes like one.
The red and yellow packaging of it, protein.
No, that's a low protein. No, that's a low carb bread. This is a protein bread. It's sort of different. I don't know. I've never tried it. I've never tried it.
I've tried it. It's good. I put it in the freezer and I just wanted to get it.
I don't know what the level of carbs and protein is in it. I've never seen it.
I'm this, and my specialist, basically supposed to be like a K man or a K woman.
Yeah, that's it.
And yeah, just he's like to me, because of my friends and communities, he's like, what do you have for breakfast? I used to be like, cereal. He's like, you know what? He goes, just get a bowl of sugar and eat that.
That's it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that we don't realise. So we'll talk about that in a minute as well. So basically, that's what I've spoken about really. Eat like a hunter-gatherer. Insulin resistance is a predictor of diabetes. Most people with insulin resistance, if they don't change the way they eat, will go on to develop diabetes. It is a survival mechanism. Our bodies were made to be insulin resistant when because we needed to, if we're eating a lot, it saves it for the times when we're not going to have food to eat. But unfortunately, we don't have those times.
So as you're trying to wean yourself off whatever sugar, what can you eat to kind of get that?
Well, if you eat enough fats and proteins, you'll be full and satiated. You'll be satisfied. You won't want to eat as much. Like, it's really important, and I can't stress that enough, to eat enough fat. And that's why people are hungry all the time. Like, you eat bread. Like, this is how I used to be, and how a lot of my clients will come in. They have a massive bowl of cereal, maybe a piece of toast and a glass of orange juice. They've had like 50 grams of sugar in their breakfast, maybe not 50, 20 grams of sugar in their breakfast, which is more than double what you're supposed to have for the whole day. And literally an hour later they're hungry because your blood sugar's gone up, not too sweaty, and then it's just gone down really, really quickly. There's no balance of blood sugar there.
So what do you have for breakfast?
I will have mostly eggs. I don't always like eggs. I'm not a big lover of eggs, but I'll eat them.
What about oats? Oats okay?
It depends on how. For most people, oats are okay. If you're insulin resistant, probably not.
If they're real oats as opposed to the processed oats,
Yeah,
you can not flavoured.
it just depends on where you're at. Like if you're insulin resistant, you don't have because they're high in carbs and they're still high. They're still quite high on the glycemic index. And all the carbs that's what they if you don't have insulin resistance, absolutely by all means. Sometimes I'll have it, yeah. Chia pudding is fantastic. I make a muesli, like a protein muesli, out of coconut flakes and nuts and seeds, and it's really nice. I have that with some yogurt. Yeah, if it agrees with you, then you can have it. Yeah, that's fine. Just make sure it's not very high. A lot of them have a lot of sugar in it. Yeah. So better to buy the Greek yogurt with some honey and
Maybe
cream.
Chobani, he's on really good at protein yogurt, low fat one, apparently he's actually.
Yeah, I don't do low fat. Yeah, Weight Watchers. I don't do low fat. I don't believe in low fat. I don't think anyone really needs to have low fat. That's not a way to lose weight.
Well, what about coconut yogurt?
Yeah. Just make sure it doesn't have a lot of sugar and coconut's fantastic.
But it's high in fat.
Yeah,
It's good fat.
and mine's yes. I mean, look, you're not having kilos of fat. Not good for dinner to have kilos of anything. You know, you can overdo everything. But yeah, if you're having a good amount, it's fine. And saturated fats are fine. I need to say that. I just read another study, literally 10 minutes before we started. Saturated fats are back on the menu. I mean, they have been on my menu for years, but I need you to all put it on your menu. So, how do you get rid of now, I think it's really important. A lot of people with type 2 diabetes, which is insulin, it's the stage after insulin resistance, can reverse their type 2 diabetes and have reversed their type 2 diabetes with diet alone. So they don't take the insulin shots, they literally reverse it, and there's hundreds of stories like that, I can tell you. So this is not, you're not hopeless, it's not a helpless situation. You can absolutely change it with food. So basically reversing, eat proteins, healthy fats, a very small amount of unrefined carbohydrates. Exercise itself lowers insulin levels, so if you exercise, that's already a good thing. And supplementation, there are supplements that work to help it. Nothing that I will discuss here because they're just things that you don't want to take. Blood sugar is a really important thing, so you don't want to take it without a practitioner looking at it. But there are a lot of supplements. And it is hard work. You have to take it slowly. You will be detoxing. Sugar is very addictive. As addictive, when they look at brains, as heroin and cocaine, and it lights up, not lists, it lights up the same reward centres. So it is super, super addictive. Probably, like it says, studies show rats, they can't do the same studies on humans, but rats said heroin, cocaine and sugar were more addicted to the sugar than to the heroin. it lights up the same dopamine centres, which is our pleasure reward centre. Thyroid. Thyroid's a master hormone. It produces hormones that for your metabolism, conversion of fat to energy, body temperature, mental health, as well as your hair and skin. A lot of women these days have problems with their thyroid. Let you take your photos. There'll be more photos. So underactive thyroid is probably the most common thyroid issue. A lot of the times it comes from autoimmunity, but you have to do testing for that. And these are the symptoms of underactive thyroid. I've been here for a while. I feel like I'm talking so much.
It's good talk.
Yeah. So fatigue, weight gain, depression, poor concentration, poor memory, low libido, dry skin, sensitivity to cold, fluid retention, muscle weakness, hoarse voice, and puffy eyes can often mean you've got thyroid issues. And it is very, very common for women, particularly after childbirth for some reason. Well, we know the reason, there's different reasons for it. And there are, some doctors will put you on drugs, and sometimes it's necessary to get your thyroid working, but there are ways you can do it naturally as well. Sometimes in unison, and sometimes people do come off the drugs eventually, but it really is quite case by case. And there are, I think it's really important to state this, your TSH, which is your thyroid stimulating hormone, is the one thing that your doctor looks at when they're looking at your thyroid. Some women will go from doctor to doctor to doctor with these symptoms. I'm tired, I can't get out of bed, I can't lose weight, I'm exercising 5 times a week. And because your TSH is normal, the doctor will say, no, everything's fine. But we now know that your TSH might be normal because your pituitary gland is compensating, but your thyroid is actually not working. And there are other blood tests that you can do which are not covered by Medicare, which is why your doctor won't send them. They do cost money, but the doctor won't send you for them. So it's really important that you need to be intuitive when it comes to your health, and you need to be on the ball, I guess. Unfortunately, that's the case it is, because firstly they see so many people, and they're not going to be able to spend an hour with everyone, and they are governed by Medicare, and Medicare doesn't want them to send. They don't want to send you for that many tests because they get in trouble for it. So I think it's you've got to be really kind of know yourself, and if you think something's wrong, then you ask for those tests. If the doctor won't give it to you, see a practitioner and you say, this is what I think. You will have to probably pay for the test, but it's worth it. And I only say that because with thyroid I see it so much. Like your thyroid stimulating hormone, which is just one small test, will be normal, and the doctor's like, your thyroid's fine, and often it's not. And there's other tests that you need to do to verify that. Very common, underdiagnosed. So your TSH should be around 1 to 1.5 if anyone knows their levels. But the levels on the doctor's paperwork or their reference ranges are 0.5 to 4. At 4, you'll be feeling all of those symptoms that we just spoke about, but they will not think. Only at 5 will the doctor say, yes, there's something wrong with your thyroid. So what do you do for underactive? Well, a lot of the time it is autoimmune, and we have so much to talk about. I'm not going to go into autoimmune, but basically your immune system's attacking your thyroid. It thinks it's an intruder, and the most important thing for autoimmune, and this is studied, not just my hoo-ha, but studies have proven that gluten-free is the most important thing you can do for autoimmune. Grain-free, probably. I know, because people hate it, and I think that people think she's a nutritionist, she thinks gluten's bad. Personally, I don't eat gluten, and I can say that since I stopped gluten, I think that helped 50 to 60% of my personal issues, and I've had clients say the same thing.
How long does it take before you start seeing?
It takes a little while, maybe 1 or 2 months, because gluten can stay in the system for up to 6 months.
And what happens, like I've got a baby who's 6 years old, if I change to gluten-free and I also put him on that kind of diet of no gluten, is that healthy for him, or?
My kids don't eat gluten. If they're out of the house and they're going to be at a party or something, that's up to them. The older ones, the younger one, if she's at a party and I'll feed her, I'll give her a piece of bread. I don't want her to be intolerant to it later by desensitizing her or sensitizing her, but at home we do not eat gluten. We go out and I'm doing my kids, they don't eat gluten. And I honestly think that it's been look, not for everyone. I have to say, it's really important that you all realise that every one of us is an individual, but from personal experience and clinical experience, I've found that is a big thing. Probably grain, like generally grain-free oats are okay, but other grains probably not. So most of, like I said, underactive thyroid is autoimmune in nature. So what else for underactive thyroid? Good fats. You'll see that good fats are important for everything. Liver health. So your liver converts your thyroid hormones from one to the other that is the usable hormone. And if your liver's not working and it's not doing its job properly, you don't have enough of that hormone. That's really important. And gut health, which is the most important thing. Socrates, who's the father of modern medicine, said that all disease begins in the gut. And then we forgot about that for many, many thousands of years, and we came back to it just in the last 10 years. Gut health is number one. And autoimmunity, particularly, stems from gut health. So if you've got a leak in your gut, you've got these junctions in your gut, if there's an opening in one of those junctions and foods goes through those openings, you do develop an intolerance. Your body's constantly fighting something and it causes inflammation. So you need to heal your gut for underactive thyroid, and overactive are probably every single hormone issue. We'll get onto that. Vitamin D is very important for autoimmune thyroid. You need to make sure you get tested. I think every woman needs to get tested. I think something like 60% of women in Australia are low in vitamin D because we spend most of our time indoors because we're obsessed with using sunscreen. We're scared of the sun. We don't need to be. I mean, I'm not saying you've got to lie in the sun and bake yourself for 6 hours, but you certainly should be getting half an hour at least a day of sun on your skin without sunscreen.
How's the once a month tablets for the vitamin D?
I don't use them, so I don't know. I don't mind mega dosing, or usually I do it once a week mega dosing. I just don't know which tablets you're talking about because I don't use them.
The vitamin D or 1,000
I don't know what 1,000 IU is what you should be getting every month. So you need to work 2,000 a day.
2,000 a day.
At least. But you should test your levels because too much vitamin D is not good for you either. It's got to be right. So underactive, you need iodine. Overactive, you have to be very careful. But we found that most people with an underactive thyroid have very low iodine levels. And you can get that tested with a urine test as well. And it's really important when you're pregnant to have good iodine levels. It helps with your baby's brain and other things. So if you've got really small boobs before your periods, you're probably low iodine. Overactive thyroid is less common, but still it does happen. Rapid pulse or heart palpitations, weight loss, insomnia, anxiety, tremors, sweating, increased appetite, thin skin, not this skin, light periods, joint pain. It is not as common, but definitely happens. Yeah, so that's
But I've never been tested.
No. But yeah.
I've been to so many nutritionists ever since I was little. I think because I just gained weight. Even before my son, I was 46 kilos and being put on all these carbohydrate, protein powders, everything. And just
Nothing. But did with all the other symptoms?
yeah.
Really? Yeah, I would have you on the thyroid test. Maybe. I don't know. So that's okay. So overactive thyroid is pretty much the same thing, but you're not going to have iodine. It's a little bit more complicated, but that's also could be autoimmune. I haven't really written about a lot because most women, particularly at our age, they're not really dealing with overactive thyroid. Adrenal. Your adrenals are they make adrenaline, they make cortisol, and we're all overstimulated. We have 10 cups of coffee a day. We're busy doing one thing and another, and our circadian rhythm is out of whack. We're supposed to sleep when it's dark, not be on the phone till 11 o'clock. We're supposed to get up when it's light. It's really, we used to live by the moon and by the sun, and we have to remember that the way we're living now is literally 100 years old. Industrial revolution, maybe not 100, 150. Industrial revolution changed the way we live, but our bodies haven't caught up yet. So, our circadian rhythms are really important for our hormones and how we feel, particularly our adrenals. Elevated cortisol, which is what is our stress hormone, which gets elevated when we're overstimulated, basically wreaks havoc on your body, and it will affect all your other hormones as well. And I think that's really important. Like I said, everything there's a flow-on effect. So if your cortisol is really high, it's going to affect your insulin levels. It's probably going to affect your estrogen levels, your progesterone levels. I mean, every one of the hormones affects the other hormones. We are all like lots of little things working together. So if you've got cortisol issues, you will have difficulty sleeping. I should have worded better, but if you drink coffee daily, at least 2 cups, you've probably got cortisol issues. If you've got difficulty falling asleep or waking up early, or waking up throughout the night, like I mean really early, like sometimes you wake up at 4 in the morning and you can't get back to sleep, that's a real cortisol issue. It means you've got high cortisol in the morning. Anxiety, irritability. If you're drinking, usually you're drinking to calm down intrinsically. If you're drinking every night because you need to calm down with a glass of wine, you've probably got cortisol issues. If you're overeating, when you're stressed, blood sugar problems, feeling burnt out, had testing done and your DHEA or your testosterone levels are low, then you've probably got high cortisol. Reflux and digestion, osteopenia or osteoporosis and or tender breasts, PMS, and also being unable to lose weight could also be cortisol issues. And you can get that tested. It's a saliva test you do it 4 times in one day, and it measures your cortisol throughout the day. Cortisol should rise at about 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, should be your peak, and then at 7, 8 at night should be your lowest, or around 10 when your body is getting ready to sleep. If your cortisol's high at night, you can't fall asleep. Sometimes a lot of people have that tired wired kind of thing.
Worse feeling.
Yeah.
Mine
Yeah, been there. So you've got low cortisol, and this usually happens when you've had high cortisol for a very long time, and that's what used to be called adrenal fatigue. We don't really call it that anymore. It's basically an issue with your hypothalamic, pituitary, and adrenal axis, and it connects your brain to your hormones. And basically, if your cortisol's been on and on and on and on and on for a long time, you burn out. Then you get low cortisol, and you've got fatigue, you can't get up in the morning, memory loss, you're overreactive, you've got no motivation, no sex drive, you've got hypoglycemia, which means you can't go without food for a little, for any amount of time. You get lightheaded upon standing. That means you've got low blood pressure a lot of the time, and that goes along.
What if you've just got low blood pressure? That's different.
Sometimes, that's different. Some people just have it. But those people might have issues with cortisol generally. I don't know. But yeah, if it's just that, then I'll experiment. Low blood pressure and craving salt. You need salt for your adrenals. It's really important. A lot of us are scared of it. But particularly if you've got low cortisol, particularly if you've got problems with your adrenal glands or you're always stressed, you actually need more salt. So you need salt because your body, your adrenal glands need it. It needs all the minerals that are in the salt. Make sure it's not table salt, like sea salt. Some people with adrenal fatigue actually even drink salt. That's part of their treatment. She also sometimes needs salt. So if you've ever been to the ICU and someone's blood pressure drops really dramatically, they will actually infuse them with salt. So salt's not all that bad. It's actually very important. We've just been told to be scared of it. And only very few people that get high blood pressure from salt. Most people don't.
Yeah, there's new studies out there saying it's not linked. So.
Studies can be very flawed as well.
Yeah.
But I'm all yeah. Well, I think originally they were flawed. I think it's a little bit different now. But salt's not bad. So unless you've got family issues with high blood pressure that can't be managed, then salt's fine. Cortisol balance, pretty much the same as everything else. Maintain blood sugar levels. How do you maintain them? Fats and proteins, and minimal carbohydrates. I don't mean no carbohydrates, I don't want you to think that. Minimal as in 1-2 pieces of fruit a day, maybe a little bit of sweet potato. And vegetables are all carbohydrates as well, don't forget.
So no pasta?
Depends. It depends. If you've got issues, then no. If you don't have any of these, eat whatever you want.
Dinner now.
I can tell you, this is one of my things that I had to deal with over the last couple of years, and mine is really good now, and I'm putting on pretty much no substance or anything, like just a few controlled ones. But exercise and diet changed my life.
Absolutely, and it does. And until you go through something yourself, you don't believe it. But like I said before, you are literally everything you eat. Every nerve, everything in your body is your food. It's what you get out of your food that you need B12 for this thing to work, and you need B6 for this to work. You need vitamin C for your adrenals to work. Without vitamin C, you get scurvy, which will also get really sick. You won't, So cortisol balance, your thyroid and your adrenals really work together. You must stay hydrated. It's very important. Your cortisol levels go up when you're dehydrated. If you've got very high cortisol, that's really a bad thing. Make sure you have breakfast if you've got high cortisol. You must have breakfast because your cortisol goes up when you're fasting. So if you've got high cortisol levels, you don't do intermittent fasting when you're fasting. Not too low carb, good carb choices. So if you've got cortisol levels, you don't want to go too low in carbs.
Gabby, can I just ask you a question about the vitamin C? You need to take that early in the morning. If you took it at night, would it keep you awake?
Shouldn't.
Okay. So would you say some in the morning, some at night?
Yeah. Vitamin C is actually, we're told we can have about 1 milligram. Some practitioners give people like 8 to 10 milligrams. And look, I obviously I don't practice this way, but I mean sometimes I do, but it's very important to see a practitioner if you're doing it. Vitamin C is so amazing. You could take, like, you could be sick, and if you take mega dose of vitamin C, the next day you probably won't be sick. That's how amazing it is, but you have to do it very carefully. And not by yourself. Please don't do it by yourself. It has to be the right vitamin C as well. Gut healing is very important for cortisol levels. Lots of bone broth is good for gut healing. I don't cook my bone broth for 24 hours. It has too much collagen. I don't think that's very good for you. I think it's good to cook it for 4 hours, 4 to 6 hours, and that's our great grandmothers did not cook their bone broth for 24 hours. You know, it's unnecessary. Too much collagen is not good for you either. Some people get very anxious when they have too much collagen, and there can be other issues. There's other issues with bone broth when it's cooked for too long. Rest is really important when you've got cortisol issues. That's probably the most important thing. No strenuous exercise, lots of sun, vitamin D, more meditative yoga, that sort of stuff, and lots of vitamin C. Vitamin C helps your adrenals function. Without it, your adrenals won't function properly, and you'll actually release more cortisol. Sounds counterintuitive, but that's how it works because your body's under stress. Everything that stresses your body, even something like lots of sugar, releases cortisol. So while it's not just the stress that we perceive, like stress that's going on, it's every little stress that your body goes under, it will release cortisol. So a bad meal will release cortisol. Not enough vitamin C will release cortisol. Being thirsty will actually release cortisol too.
And alcohol,
well, alcohol, it's kind of funny because alcohol will lower your cortisol levels while you're drinking it, but will increase them afterwards. Yeah.
That'll be a sleep
Yeah. So if you've had a really big night and you wake up with heart palpitations, anxiety, that sort of stuff, that's your cortisol going up. So testosterone, I don't know why I don't have a thing. So we'll quickly talk about testosterone. Not only men make testosterone. High testosterone in women can induce PCOS. I'm not sure if everyone has any issues here, but it's become really common. And I see it a lot in clinic. PCOS. Does anyone here? Well, I'll talk about it.
I don't have any other symptoms, but I'm seriously going to wake up one day. If I put a tit-tail on my head, it would look like Arafat. Like I have this hat.
That's high testosterone.
So that is that?
Well, no, it doesn't mean PCOS. It just means high testosterone.
Okay.
Belly fat, weight gain, hair loss. Some women lose hair, oily hair, skin, no periods or irregular periods, or not ovulating when you've got your periods. Acne, aggression, excess growth on the face and body. If you've got insulin resistance as well, that's what creates PCOS. Got acne twice. Infertility, weight gain, infertility again. Sorry guys, I just high testosterone levels can come from high sugar levels, and they cause irregular periods, which I wrote twice. Just making a point. So yeah, it was late. Yes. So PCOS, what to do? There are supplements that really help and have been clinically proven to help. So often when you've got PCOS, you're going to give metformin, which is what they give diabetics because the insulin levels are so high. There's a lot of side effects from metformin. It helps some women, but there are a lot of supplements that have been proven and have as good a success rate as metformin, if not better. Inositol and blood sugar regulation should get your PCOS under control. You need to do that with the practitioner. Liver and gut health, again, are very important. Blood regulation is very important. But generally, if you go to the doctor, you'll be put on metformin or go on the pill or both. And basically, the pill is just a hormone that you're taking. You're taking hormone replacement therapy, but instead of estrogen, you're taking a combination of estrogen and progesterone. So your body thinks it's pregnant permanently.
So if I'm literally still every 28 days,
Yep.
I could still be
It
like
just depends. Yeah, you could be. It just depends on whether you have the other symptoms.
No, it's just that.
Then, then it could be, that could be estrogen as well. Yeah.
Or I could be Middle Eastern and I need to
Well,
go.
maybe. Yeah. So PCOS, low GI style diet, low carb diet, lots of vitamin D and anti-inflammatory foods. We'll talk about those in a minute. I've really gone over. Endometriosis affects over 175 million people, women worldwide. We still don't know why women have it. There are so many different ideas that people have, theories, but there is nothing proven yet. Possibly there is a component of estrogen dominance. There's genetic factors, and now we have come to the, well, not we, but people have come to the conclusion that it probably is autoimmune. So the body's somehow, the immune system's attacking some part of the body. And basically, endometriosis is just growth. So it's growth of endometrial cells where they're not supposed to go. So, and then when you get your period, you could have endometrial cells as far as your lungs. It has been known. So basically, when you get your periods, your whole body hurts, like period pain, because those cells are spread throughout the body. And it's very painful and horrible time when that happens. And they're actually doing a lot of research on it now because it is so prominent, and they've done none of it now. They've done nothing. They still don't know where we're going to get it.
They're doing a lot of awareness, charities, and everything for it.
Yeah, they're trying to raise money for
First had surgery for when I was 17 years old.
Oh, so you,
And it was just, the doctor was like, yeah, bonking, I'll
yeah.
see you in a year, it'll grow back.
And that's it. Yeah, but estrogen dominance is the big thing, and if you can get that under control, generally, you can somehow some small way. So symptoms of it are pain, really bad period pain, very heavy bleeding, infertility, bloating, constipation, low back pain, fatigue. Some women actually don't have symptoms, and they only find out when they can't get pregnant. Because you can't do a test for it, like a blood test. You actually have to do surgery to find out if you've got endometriosis. It is a keyhole surgery, but you still have to do surgery, so you can't know you've got it until you've done the surgery. Yeah, that's the only way. Natural healing for endometriosis. So what usually people do is take non-steroids, so that's like Nurofen and that sort of stuff. But they really affect the way your gut works, and they can suppress whether you're ovulating, which even leads to more estrogen dominance and perpetuates the cycle. But a lot of women just don't have a choice because they're in that much pain they have to use them. So anti-inflammatory diet is really important, movement is important, root cause analysis, which is basically trying to find why it's there rather than just trying to band-aid it with a pill. Looking at fixing the estrogen dominance if that's part of the clinical picture, which it often is. B vitamins and omega-3 fatty acids are all really good for endometriosis. Again, it's good to work with a practitioner in a case like that.
Only two ways I was told to get rid of it was to either have a baby or a hysterectomy.
Yeah, women do have hysterectomy.
Yeah.
I
I haven't had any problems since I had my son. I was perfectly on time, whereas I've never had been for 15 years before that.
Yeah, you were lucky to get pregnant, some women can't. So the three-legged stool is what I call it, of hormone health, digestion, liver and blood sugar balance. If you've got those three under control, you're pretty much okay. Digestion, when it's bad, you're not absorbing any of the vitamins, minerals, or anything, basically, that is essential for your hormone function. The gut also houses what we call the estrous biome, which is all the bacteria that actually metabolize your hormones, particularly estrogen. So that bacteria is really important, not just for your gut health, but now we know it's really important for your hormone health as well. What to do? So most women, I don't know if any of you take PPIs, which are protein pump inhibitors, so anything you take from reflux really affects what you absorb. it's very important that you try and do other things before you take them. They're not very good for your hormone health. So that's things like Nexium and that sort of stuff. You need to firstly work on your digestion and what you're absorbing. So the best way I know how, and really actually works, it sounds simple. I'll just give you an example. My mother was on Nexium for like the last, 10 years, and last year I finally said to her, that's it, you're coming off it. It's just the worst thing. They did another study that showed Nexium and dementia. So I did put her on apple cider vinegar and some other stuff. We worked on her gut health, and she does not need to take anything.
Wow.
So 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar or lemon juice in water before every meal is really, really good. Maybe 10 minutes
Do you
before
think
you
that
can.
apple cider vinegar at night time keeps you awake?
You know what? Everyone's different. But you don't take it at night. You have it before dinner, and then you've got a few hours before.
Yeah.
Don't drink it before sleep.
Yeah.
You don't need to.
No, I have it every before breakfast and lunch, but I was having it before
And it
dinner.
just didn't work.
And I was just
So have lemon juice instead in the
Okay.
evening. Yeah. You have to know what works for you, and every person is different. You can take digestive enzymes if you don't want to do apple cider vinegar. You can take pills, which will really, really help, and they will teach your body. The good thing about apple cider vinegar is it actually teaches your body to make more of the digestive enzymes. Eventually, you won't have to take it, but a lot of us just we've forgotten how to make it.
I
You need
need to have it through a straw too.
Yeah, because of your teeth. But you're only having a small amount. You don't want a whole cup. You literally put a tablespoon in a shot glass with some more water.
Yeah.
Or you can take digestive enzymes.
A tablespoon.
Or you can take two.
I'm not having any. It sounds like a lot.
You need to eliminate your trigger foods. So every one of us has foods that causes inflammation for them. The only way you can find out is by doing an elimination diet. And there's ways you can do it with a practitioner, or you can try and do it at home. But yeah, basically elimination diet. Stop eating various foods, add them each back in at a certain time. For 3 days, only add one food back in. See how you feel. You will eventually get to the foods that make you feel okay, and that will cause any kind of, it could be mental health, it could be brain fog, could be bloating, could be indigestion, whatever it is, you'll find those foods and you just eliminate them. Add in your good bacteria, take probiotics or eat fermented foods. Both are actually really good because fermented foods will give you the quantities, probiotics will give you different. So a good range of bacteria. And then add healing foods to your gut, which is bone broth is a good healing food. And there are other healing foods as well. But aloe vera is a really good healing food. Aloe vera water. Balanced blood sugar is the second part, and that's basically sugar. You need to get rid of the sugar and a lot of carbohydrates. Sugar depletes minerals, it depresses our immunity. Your liver has to work really, really hard to process the sugar, and it depletes minerals. So I think for 1 gram of sugar, you need a massive amount of magnesium to process it. Magnesium is so important. 300 functions it partakes in. Inflammation is, sugar causes inflammation. We know now that inflammation is actually the centre of all illness. Inflammation is the precursor to everything. So depression is an illness of inflammation. And most, arthritis, Alzheimer's, everything is actually inflammation in our bodies. So sugar is very much a part of that. Sugar feeds pathogens, so thrush, any kind of bacteria that you've got in your gut is going to thrive on sugar. And people do say, and studies have shown, that cancer thrives on sugar too, and eats glucose. And sugar causes insulin resistance. By sugar, I also mean highly refined carbs. And please, I eat sugar sometimes. I'm not dogmatic. I want a piece of chocolate. I'll have dark chocolate. But you just need to be mindful of what you're doing.
What about honey?
Honey's still sugar. It's not refined, so it's better for you, particularly if you can get like a good honey. So yeah, if you want a little bit in your tea, but honey is sugar, and your body still reacts the same way to honey as it does to sugar. And it's very easy to, like I said before, you get your OJ in your cereal, that's 12 tablespoons of sugar, teaspoons. Then you've got a muesli bar for morning tea, and 2 coffees with the sugar each, and that's just your morning. You've doubled your daily allowance just by doing that, more than doubled. So it's really easy to load up on sugar without even realising it. Just a bowl of breakfast cereal and your orange juice. Juice is definitely not a way to go. You don't want to drink juice unless it's vegetable juice. Even if you put in, a couple of pieces of fruit in the juice, you're not getting the fibre out of it, so you're losing the best part of the fruit when you're juicing it. I'm more into smoothies, so smoothies you retain all the fibre, but you don't want to put heaps of fruit in them. I mean, that should be mostly vegetables, maybe half a banana. Probably better if you put like half a cup of berries in there instead. Berries are probably the best fruit, low in sugar and highest in antioxidants, so they're really good for you. So how do you balance your blood sugar? Well, every meal needs to contain fibre, fat and protein. Every meal. Limit fruit to 1 to 2 pieces a day. Low GI carbs only. Limit your refined sugar and make sure your breakfast, which is the most important meal of the day, is protein and healthy fats. So, not your carb. You're hungry an hour later when you have toast for breakfast anyway. I don't know if everyone's trying to that, but most people do. And if you're not, then you probably can eat carbs, because like 10% of people can do it.
Yeah, and you've gone out there breakfast and something else is made, and that's fine.
Okay, and liver health. Liver health is probably the most digestive in liver. Liver is your master detoxifier. It eliminates excess hormones and converts other hormones into other hormones. Low sugar diet is really good for your liver. Supplements can work for liver, so there are plenty of supplements. Lemon, any kind of citrus is good for your liver. Lemon and lime juice is fantastic for your liver. Aloe vera is good for your liver. Turmeric is good for your liver. In doses, not what you put in your curry. Bitter greens. Every day you need to have some bitter greens. Anything bitter is really good for your liver, and that's why you've got there's like a drink that you have that's bitter that you have before you eat, and that actually helps you digest your food and helps the liver. Dandelion tea, which you can have at home, is fantastic for your liver. Have it instead of your coffee, and I said turmeric is fantastic. But sometimes that's not enough. I guarantee you'll get 70% of the way there just with those 3 things. Sometimes it's not enough. You need to do testing. And you look at methylation, your methylation cycle, and over time now, so really quick. You can look at hormone profiles, digestive issues, profiles, and all these things can give you some answers. That's me.
Oh, that was so good.
That was great. No, not at all. Just maybe a little sip, and then if anyone's got any questions. Well, that was a lot of information, but it was really great information. I got a lot from that. I thought it was fantastic. I'm not very excited for my dinners. My kids are going to be going, oh, no pasta?
You know what? You've learned to make really exciting things. So.
Yeah.